Today, we are going to talk about some of the cleanup that needed to be done after the Revolutionary War. And this was important stuff. You have a quiz on it, so I'd highly recommend that you pay attention to this, because if you know this, it's really going to help you. All right, the first thing that we talked about was the causes of American victory. How did America beat this incredibly strong country? They really didn't have a chance, but somehow, by several turns of fate, they were able to do it. Who can tell me one thing? Yes?
Britain was overconfident in support from the Loyalists.
Okay, overconfidence and Loyalist supports, yes.
Aid from France.
Pardon? Aid from France, a big one. Joseph?
British forces were spread thin.
British forces were spread thin. Noah?
Indian fighting tactics.
They used the Indian fighting tactics, yes.
British had no money. Well, barely any money.
Yeah, their money was also spread thin, as were their soldiers. Anything else you can think of? Yes?
The Americans knew the land.
The Americans knew the land, so they could lead these guys on a wild goose chase. And all these things combined together created the impossible. America was able to break away from one of the strongest countries on the globe and become an individual country. Now, the war is over. We have some cleanup to do, and the first thing is we've got to sign the peace treaty about this war. And the peace treaty about this war is to say that officially that we are now our own separate country. What was that treaty called? Who can tell me? Yes?
The Peace of Paris.
The Peace of Paris. And then there were 3 other treaties. Now, the most important thing you can remember to get these treaties right is to remember where they were. 2 of our diplomats, Jay and Pinkney, John Jay and Thomas Pinkney, they were assigned to England. But for this particular treaty, Thomas Pinkney was sent to Spain. So you have to think about the treaties as being with England, with Spain, and with the Indians. So let's do it this way. Andrew, come up here. Go to my little costume closet. Andrew, put that on. Chase, you're going to be British, so come up and get this. Oh, so British. And I need an Indian. Come on up. Okay. Let's just put this over your head. Get your hair out on the top. Looks cool.
Like a glove.
Okay, yeah, gee, it's like I made it just for you.
You've never worn it before.
Okay, so let's talk about these guys. They're going to alternate between being the diplomats and being the countries. So right now I'm going to talk about them as if they are the countries. This is England, and they are giving us a really rough time. They have fur trading posts in American territory that we want them out of there. We don't want them giving things to the Indians that they can use against us. And we want them to stop impressing our soldiers. They keep coming up to our ships, pulling alongside of them, boarding, going through the ship, and taking Americans saying they're really British and impressing them into the British Navy. That does not make us happy. Spain has just they are now in control of the mouth of the Mississippi River. They're in control of New Orleans and the Mississippi. But we have settlers all along the east side of the Mississippi, and they aren't letting us get to them to go up the river, and to use land is pretty tough. So Spain, we are sending Pinkney to Spain to see if he can get our rights to take goods up the Mississippi. And then we have at Fort Greenville, we have our person who is going to talk to the Indians. We really want to have all that green, beautiful land in Ohio. So if you could get that for us, it'd be just great. Okay, so our diplomats do their thing, and these are now our diplomats. Now, actually, we're not very happy with you, because even though you got rid of the fur traders and they're not giving ammunition to the Indians, you didn't do the most important thing. We're really upset at you. You did not get them to stop impressing our sailors. I mean, that's the most important thing that we sent you for. We wanted you to stop that. Us mothers, we were really upset because our sons could be in the Navy, and then they come home with the ship and our sons aren't there, and we were real upset at you. What were you thinking?
I did 2 out of 3.
It doesn't matter. The most important thing you didn't get done. We wanted you to stop impressment of our sailors. You failed. We're not happy with you as Americans. But Pinkney were really proud of you. You did such a nice job. You got permission for us to exchange goods in New Orleans to be taken up the river, and you got them to make an agreement that the United States would end at the 31st parallel by the Mississippi River. Nice work, Pinkney. We're so proud of you. Now, I know most Americans are really happy with what you did, but I have a bit more tender conscience than most Americans, and I feel really bad. I mean, America's happy because you got most of Ohio and part of Illinois into our country. That was really nice, but don't you feel guilty about ripping off those Indians? I mean, look at what you traded. You gave them blankets and trinkets for all that land. They were majorly ripped off. Not that I want you to give it back, because, you know, I am American, but still, it did seem kind of rotten. So I guess you did your job, but you could have been a little more generous maybe with these people. And not only that, only a few tribes sold it to you. What about all the other tribes in Ohio? They didn't agree to sell. I'm not sure I'm real comfortable with that, but hey, you did your job, so congratulations. Okay, can you remember this? If you remember these things, thanks guys, you can put your hats back and take your seat. Okay, so just a quick review. What ended the Revolutionary War? Peace of Paris. Who made a deal with, who was the diplomat that made a deal with England? Jay. Who went to Spain?
Pinkney.
And then there were some army officers that made a deal with the Indians in Greenville. Which treaty was signed in a fort?
Greenville.
The Greenville Treaty. What did Pinkney get for us that we liked? What's one thing?
Oh, he got us a trade route in New Orleans.
Okay, we could exchange products at New Orleans and Joseph.
We got lands from the Indians. And we got
That wasn't Pinkney. Pinkney's Spain. He dealt with Spain. What's the other thing he did for us? I think, Noah, you know what that is?
we moved to the 31st parallel.
Okay, good. We now have a clear ending line at the 31st parallel. What did Jay fail to do that had the Americans upset? Raise your hand if you know. What did Jay do that had the Americans upset, Julian?
Jay failed to stop the impression on American sailors.
Exactly right, exactly right. Okay, so do you feel ready?
No.
For this quiz? You're going to have a quiz on how the Americans beat the British and the treaties right now. All right, thank you.